Oh, hey, you're here. Why don't we take a look at my cabin that I built out here in the woods? First of all, we've got the front door, obviously. Come inside. So, yeah, this is the open floor plan of the first floor. It's pretty open house. It's kind of modeled after like a fancy cabin. I kind of wanted something that was stylistically like a lot of the fancy houses you see out of there, out of like Lightmaticas and stuff that people have made, but I wanted it to be entirely my own, so I did it all in creative, and I used the blocks that I wanted to use, knowing that I'd have to collect them all. A little bit later on, I'll talk about that, because I know there's kind of a debate going on right now in the Minecraft community over using Lightmatica, but yeah, it's working out for me so far, at least with this build. And yeah, like I said, we'll talk about that more later, but yeah, so we've got the foyer here, and pretty open, and you're from the second floor, obviously you can see that people would be able to see over the edge. And we're greeted by flower pots and some paintings here in the front room. This is that's by some guy. Yeah, the paintings, you know, I got them, and I don't really know who made them. Yeah, this isn't real life, but you know, you got paintings in your house. The reason why I'm waffling over that subject is just because, yeah, this is my architectural digest story about my house, essentially. Yeah, so I used lots of brown terracotta and dark oak wood. I think it kind of gives the look of like plaster that's kind of coming off. A little bit of a rustic look. And I like using only a couple of blocks in a medium build of this size. If you want to do something that's not going to look like block vomit, you want to limit yourself to a palette of like 2 to 3 blocks, I think. That really worked for me. It may not work for you, because it's all about scale. It's all about what scale you're building at, what the feel you're going for is. Obviously, we have these bay windows that we can sit in these bay windows and enjoy the view. Although right now, I need to do some landscaping around here, and that's going to be something that I do mostly in survival mode rather than creative mode. I find that that's a little bit easier for me to do on the fly because it's more of an abstract design. But as we move into the main living room space, we've got our bookshelves and fireplace. I wanted I'm a little bit frustrated about the fact that bookshelves and chiseled bookshelves don't blend together that well. But they still, I don't know, they still look okay enough. And obviously I want to fill out these chiseled bookshelves here with more books. But that's forthcoming. I need to get more paper. And that's definitely on my list of things. It's like maybe I should make a paper sugarcane farm so I can get that paper a little more quickly. And of course, in the middle of the living room here is seating. You can have a seat if you want. We've got our sort of like, I don't know what you would call this, but it's not a one-to-one sort of thing where, you know, like, you don't build a house in Minecraft that's 100% like a normal house in real life. And so I didn't really put in a coffee table because I don't really think that it looks good when the coffee table is the same height as the chairs and the sofas. So I didn't do that. But instead of having a coffee table, I have this sort of like living room table. We've got our record player here, and on these mahogany, or you know what I mean, what do they call that wood? Mangrove wood. These mangrove wood shelves, I am going to put all of the discs. And I also put barrels above these discs, and I think that, like, kind of from an initial standpoint, when I'm going on adventures for various things, I'm going to have like these records in a sort of theme. So over here is on the end here, there's going to be probably like the deep dark discs, and in the barrel will be like deep dark stuff, like skulk sensors and all that. Similarly, like Trail Ruins, I'll have Trail Ruin stuff will be above the relic disc. The other discs, I don't know for certain what I'm going to do, because a lot of those discs you either find in a generic dungeon, or you have to get them via killing creepers in a creeper farm specifically tailored for the production of music discs. You have a skeleton that's trapped, and they're shooting at the creeper, and the creeper will always drop discs if you do that, if you have a skeleton shooting at them. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thematically going off of here. Like, I don't have a storage system yet. And that reminds me, well, first, before talking about the storage system, I'll mention that I like this. I got this cartographer's table, and a wandering trader wandered by, and he had a globe. And so I thought that globe would look really nice. I tried really hard to put it on like some kind of pedestal so it looked more like it could rotate like a normal globe in real life. You could spin it around. It's on a little thing. But I couldn't really do that in this instance. It didn't look right no matter what I did. Same goes for the parrot. Like, I was trying to make a perch for my parrot that he could like land on. It was a fence gate. And then I was noticing that he was like, there was air between him and the bottom of, or the top of the fence gate. So I put a slab between. When I opened the fence gate, he like lowered a little bit, and then I got rid of the slab, but then he fell through it, like almost like it was transparent. But I really wasn't able to come up with a solution like that. If you've got any ideas for like perches for parrots, or like things that look good as far as like thin stands upon which, you know, globes would go, give me some advice, because I tried a lot of different things. Hanging signs I thought would be a nice perch, but they don't attach to fences, because fences are like a center of a block. So there's really no way to do it without a solid block if it's a hanging fence. And then it kind of just looks like a hanging sign. It kind of just ends up looking like a hanging sign, and not a perch. And it's just a parrot sitting on a hanging sign. So I think that was a little bit lame. So onward towards the storage. Yeah, so this we're not going to really talk about a ton right now, because I designed the basement in creative, and I didn't really fully like it in the end result, so I might have to tweak that a little bit. Plus, I think that planning a storage system rather than just willy-nilly throwing in chests like I did in my creative world would be better. I'm going to look into the copper golem mechanics, because I think this initial storage system is going to be copper golem powered. So that's about it. Don't go down there. It's pretty dangerous. The stairway's not even finished. We're going to keep going on the first floor here. Back into this area. This is more of the open space. This is my kitchen. This on the center of the table is supposed to be pizza. It came from a villager, or I'm sorry, it came from a wandering trader as well. Of course, we've got the person applying flame to a stove kind of vibes in that painting, and I think it just really fits in the kitchen. It's like we're ready to go, we're ready to cook things. I think XB Crafted in a recent Hermitcraft video pointed out how pale moss looks a lot like a granite slab, and so this is like my granite cutting board on top of my stainless steel kitchen. We don't have any running water quite yet in this place, but soon we will, so we can have water in our sinks and in the wash basin. And of course we got a smoker, this brewing stand. So the brewing stand is really just there to, I'm thinking about putting like waters on it, so it just kind of looks like maybe there's just always like coffee on the pot. That's just the vibe I'm going for. I know it doesn't look like a coffee pot, but that's the closest you can get to it. And of course the hood and the hood vents. Every kitchen needs a good hood vent, in my opinion. As a food service worker, as somebody who's cooked many burgers at home, I know that it could get really smoky in the kitchen, so you always need something to suck that smoke and that vapor up through to the ventilation system. And moving on, we've got a bay window in the kitchen, another place to just kind of chill and unwind. Eventually there will be stuff back here as well to look at. I wanted as many opportunities to see outside, but we're gonna get to that eventually. In here, and welcome to the commode. This is the bathroom. Once again, no running water, so the toilet is not working yet. We've got our wash basin for our hands, and put it in a chiseled bookshelf because, you know, everybody's got to have some toilet reading material. Maybe it should be up off the floor. I don't know, in case it floods. We'll see. Maybe I'll put it up on the counter at some point. But it's kind of hard to just like let those sides be exposed and not feel weird about it, because the other bookshelves, they're all around them. There's books on every side. For the chiseled, there's just one face that has the bookshelves. So it's usually best in contexts like this, where it's sort of like between two things. And of course, we got some good paintings in here too. That's about it. You know, it's a bathroom. That's about it. And we don't really actually use it. It's just there to create the illusion, the further illusion of a lake house cabin type thing. And so here we go upstairs, and on the way up we see another painting, just kind of keeping with the vibe of it being, you know, like it's lived in. It's you gotta have art to appreciate in your house, right? Up here we've got another like living space, and the part that I really like the most of this build is something somebody showed me a long time ago. As you can hear throughout this entire episode, the clock is ticking. I'll go into free cam for a second here and show you. It's a minecart that is hitting this, it's hitting this pressure plate that's on top of a fence post. And I don't know for sure if that's like ticking with the actual seconds. It's a little bit behind my watch, but it just, you kind of forget about it, and it becomes like, you know, a grandfather clock essentially in your mind. And on top of that, we've also got the observer and bell, so that every time that like a light change happens, it rings the bell. There it goes. I really, part of me wants to make sure I can use redstone to figure out how to like get that to do that like at a certain time every day, but it just gives the illusion, you know, it gives the illusion that you're living in a house with a grandfather clock, and there's that ambient noise of the fire going. You got the clock ticking. I really love that. I think it adds a lot to the space. Over here is the first major balcony, and probably the best balcony, because look at that view. Eventually, I'm gonna fill this out, get rid of stone. There's a lot of stone around my base, and I want to change that. But for right now, it's probably the best view because you can actually see the lake here. Whereas you'll see in a minute, but there's other places where you can't really see the second lake, which is on the other side of the house. And so moving to the back, there's another balcony back here, and of course we have the, just like within the front, there's kind of like this open plan, so I can see out the window here. I could see down to what's going on there a little bit. You know, it just kind of adds airiness and roominess to the build that makes it feel more spacious and inviting, I think. Now back here, there really was no rhyme or reason to this. I kind of just put together these barrels because I've seen people do that. It's almost like, you know, maybe I moved in and I kind of just left some boxes around, and it's kind of like the attic space in a way. And so eventually I might put stuff in these barrels, but for now it's just decorative. And right beyond that is our second balcony on the second floor, and yeah, definitely back here there's going to be some things, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I keep saying that I'll talk about everything in a little bit. Just trust me. But yeah, I like this balcony too because you can see a lot. The forest is cleared, and so if I do decide, whatever I decide to build out here, whatever I decide will be very magnificent looking, I guess you could say. And then we go to the actual only other room other than the bathroom is my bedroom. And this is one of my favorite spaces I've ever created. It's very small. It's it's definitely just a bedroom, but I love this headboard. I love this mangrove headboard. I think that the reversed shelves just give it that sense that it's an actual headboard. And I do have to put one more thing here. I have to put a sign on the end of the bed because I think it looks like the end of the bed frame. And I'll get to that eventually. But I totally forgot about that. This is still, even though it's pretty much finished, it's gonna be a work in progress because I'll change things over time. And then this is like kind of a balcony-ish. It's not really because it's enclosed, but you can see through here that there's definitely water over there, but it's almost completely obscured by this forest. And so over on this other balcony that I have, the last balcony that's in the bedroom, yeah, I want this view to be better. I want to get rid of these trees. And I'll talk about a little bit more in a second here. That seems to be the mantra of the episode. I'm going to talk about this over here anyway, about what I want to do. And that's pretty much it for the house. I mean, as you can see in the exteriors, I used a lot of copper. You can see that I've tried to incorporate a palette that kind of feels sturdy and solid and also rustic at the same time. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the house. But I did want to talk a little bit more about the area around the house. So yeah, I was talking about this area. This is that forest area where you can't really see the lake. I have to run all the way over here to actually see it. Now, there's a couple of things we can do with that. For starters, I'm definitely getting rid of all of these trees, or at least most of these trees. That doesn't mean that trees will never be here again. I just want to kind of frame it in a way. Maybe just cut down on the density a little bit. But another thing I can do is right here, you see how there's sort of this rise up in dirt here, but then just over it, it looks like the lake kind of continues in a way. So if I can just go through here with like moss, and I'll go into free cam here so you can see it. I'll probably just like take moss and go through this area and carve a natural path. Maybe even more like this area too. We'll carve through and connect with that water right there. And then even over the water, there is this cavern, this way down into the depths. And what I was thinking is that I could block this off, kind of change the block palette that's down here into mud and gravel and other darker blocks, and even extend the lake into here. Because then, if you get rid of these trees, and you were standing up here on the balcony, you could definitely see the lake in there. In addition to seeing the lake probably better over here with those trees gone. So that's kind of the plan for the landscaping so far. And, well, at least the landscaping in this area. I wanted to talk a little bit about the front door as well. If we come back over to the front door, originally the house was like the floor level block, so you would walk on a path, like grass path, up to here. And now that I've put it one block up, I'm thinking what I might do is sort of like take away a little bit here and make it almost like you have to walk up a path to get up to the house. And also eventually, on either side of the lake, I want there to be, in some way, in some form, between these lakes, there needs to be like a unified docking system. And yeah, there's this like giant isthmus of stone right here. And I just don't really know if it's going to stay that way. I really don't like the look of it. I really think that a bridge between the two lakes in some way, like maybe not a bridge, maybe a bridge between the two land masses here and then a waterway that goes through so the lakes are connected. That might be the best plan. But I think it's time for me to go to bed because it looks like it's getting dark out here in the world. So yeah, I should also tell you a little bit about the changes that I made between survival and the creative build. I really took myself to my extreme here with how fast and complex I built this building, but I still felt like it needed some dimensionality to it. So I added in bay windows after the fact, and that's kind of where I was sitting before. I just think it adds a little bit more to the outside, a little bit more of a greeble-y feeling. Greebles being the things that you put onto small structures or models to make them look more detailed and more realistic. And obviously I've done a lot of the warped shelves to create the sensation that there's shutters on the house, even though you could not close them even if you wanted to. That's one of the things that I kind of wish they would update in Minecraft, is making some kind of like decorative shutter system, like maybe, or maybe somebody could redstone that. I don't know. That would be kind of cool, actually. A redstone window shutter. Yeah, the thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to Litematica, as I mentioned earlier, there's been this conversation among like the Hermitcraft people about how, Litematica can be kind of cheaty. It almost, as Mumbo Jumbo recently was saying that he felt like it robbed him, not robbed him, he didn't say that. This is not going to be verbatim, by the way, but he said that it kind of like took away the opportunity for him to tell a story about his build through the build itself, that if you just kind of whip it together and you just kind of like put together a build really quickly and creative, and then it becomes a resource hunt, right? You're starting to hunt for resources to build the house, to finish it. And that can feel a little bit boring. I mean, people don't really want to watch all of the resource gathering. There's a reason why so many of us YouTube Minecrafters will say, I did my mining off camera, because really, realistically, a lot of entire seasons of Minecraft shows could be mining itself, and that would just be repetitive and boring, and it wouldn't really tell you much of a story so much as would be more like watch me play, and that's different. It's different from like a let's play where it's like, okay, we're gonna make a mini game, or maybe we'll interact with some friends, or maybe we'll do different things that'll make it seem more interesting. But there's the fact of the matter is like I'm a working class YouTuber. I have a regular job. I'm doing this as a hobby. Editing the videos itself as well is a hobby. So being able to have the time to tell a story, I have to be able to have the time to build and to get things done more quickly and efficiently. That's another reason why I made a medium-sized build this time rather than this large. The last video series that I had, at the end of it, you would have seen that I was basically just making a giant dwarven fortress. I wanted to make like my own dwarf fortress on a server, and it was just such a large scale, and I was spending all of my time carving it out. And then, yeah, it kind of helped when the Happy Ghast came out, because then I was able to fly around to do builds and not have to use scaffolding and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, even with the tools that I had at hand, it was this monumental task, and I was already burning out on playing Minecraft, let alone recording, and I was having other struggles in my life that were preventing me from really like devoting myself to something like this. Maybe I'll come and pick up this stuff while I'm out here, because this chest and this crafting table have to go. But yeah, I think that's I feel conflicted, because like on the one hand, I'm as a working class person, I want to play in a way that will actually be entertaining for me and for you, and I think that if I spent more time doing an ad hoc survival build, I would probably be doing a lot of boring resource gathering and not spending enough time thinking about the build, because let's just face it, I'm not that great at I have definitely made great builds in survival that weren't built in creative mode first, but I also just, it can be hard, and a lot of those builds took so long to do, and I'm just wandering around. I don't know if you've noticed by now, but I'm just like wandering around and looking at things. But I just wanted to get this stuff off my chest, so I hope it's more of like a podcasty episode. I'm just running around my house because I literally have nothing to do but talk about stuff. The long story short on all of that is that I think Litematica works a little bit differently for me as somebody who's not made this my full-time job, who does not have the time to devote to Minecraft as maybe somebody who's on Hermitcraft or another server that also makes YouTube videos and makes money doing it. I think that that's a big difference. But that's also why I ignored the landscaping around the build. I ignored some of the things that I know I can do more easily in survival because they're not like a building. They don't have a specific shape. There's not, there's not as much of a chance of that proportionality in the build getting thrown off by an errant wall or walls that are too close together, that kind of thing. Like, just, I need to have the creative tool set at my fingertips for larger scale things that have structure to them. But like landscaping, that's kind of more of a random thing. You want the paths to not look straight because then it's just going to look ugly in that way. But there's a lot more lines and linearity, if that's even a word, to a normal build. But yeah, I think the final thing I want to say about that is that I should just cut myself a break on that because, I've got like 104 videos at this point, and I've been doing this for 5 years on and off, and somehow I've still cultivated a bit of an audience, and that's you. And I've just come to accept that, that the process is going to be slow. You have to trust the process. Trust the process. And don't be hard on yourself if you're someone like me who's kind of a small YouTuber and you just don't have as much time as a Mumbo Jumbo or as a Zoomovoid to do this kind of thing. And on that note, Zoomovoid has talked about using like Litematica, and so yeah, I think there's definitely arguments to be made and different viewpoints even within the larger YouTube channel spaces. The final thing I will talk about this episode, because it's really not going to be a lot of building in this episode or gathering of any kind. What I really want to do, my next project, in addition to landscaping, is a moss farm. And I think that a moss farm back here that is hidden within a greenhouse would look just perfect with this setup. I want it to be like maybe like a little botanical lab feel to it. I'll start to collect flowers, and I can also make it like a showcase of all the flowers in the game and maybe some grasses. We'll see. But I don't want it to be too big either. So it's definitely something that I might have to play around with in creative mode. But you know what? If you'd be interested in seeing that, I would definitely do a time lapse and maybe like something conversational like this again when it comes to creative mode, because I really think that would be one way to get content out of the time I'm spending in creative mode, is to just sort of like go through the process that I'm taking before I end up copying it into a Litematica. So yeah, I think right here, a moss farm, that's kind of just part of a larger thing, a moss farm that's part of a greenhouse rather. That would be great. Let's think on that a little bit more and we'll get to it. But yeah, I've done a lot of running around my house in this episode, and you've seen a lot of the nice, beautiful views of it. I'm just glad that I finally have a place that I can be relatively safe in the world. Before, I was just living in a hole in the ground, and I needed a cozy spot, like this isn't a place for farms. This isn't a place for like elaborate redstone. This isn't a place for advancing so much as it is a place to unwind and relax and think about what I am going to do with my farms. Maybe even eventually in this room I'll have a little book. I got to get a diary. Not a diary, but a to-do list. I always like to get a little book, and I'll put it in a shelf, and that'll be maybe I'll even put a couple of chiseled bookshelves in here, because that might even look nicer. And then I can put books of what I'm trying to do, like my to-do list in here. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, like, subscribe, comment, whatever they say these days, whatever you can do these days. I'm going to keep working on it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And it wasn't too boring watching me run around my house.